Well, it looks like today we're working on this awesome Tbucket Roadster. Thing's super nice. The guy was driving it and the steering just quit on it, so it's over here on my flatbed, and we got to find out what happened. I think it's either the box or the shaft. It sounds like a spline or something is spinning inside the boxes right here under here. I think it's what they call a reverse Corvair box, they call it. It just comes straight up with no upper mounts on this thing, so it's a lot of stress on it. You can see it just spins around. And that's not spinning. It's either inside the box or in the shaft, which is covered. And then he wants me to replace the oil pan gasket, so we'll do those two things. So let's get this thing off the lift right now. Look at this. See, it's just kind of, this column just kind of floats in there. It's kind of rickety. It sounds like there could be a a union in here somewhere that's stripped out, like fine splines. Well, we'll find out. We'll find out soon enough. But this thing's pretty neat. Massive meats. Instead of saying Ford, it says Total, so it must be the brand, Total Body brand or something, like a kit. It's pretty neat though. It's like a chopped body or something. It's a real thin tub. How thin this tub is. So your feet come up right into the bottom of this dash. It's real small. It's modeled like Chevy, 2 carbs. A lot of chrome, all the good stuff. Supposed to rain tonight, so I had to go out and buy some tarps and stuff. I don't like having it out here in the front, but the back is full of cars and stuff. Maybe I'll try to pull the steering wheel off and see how hard it is to get this cover off of here. That should tell me everything. If I can get this off, I'm hoping it's just a splined union in here or something. That's what it sounds like. Unless it broke loose from one of the gears inside the box. But we'll find out soon enough. Yeah, I love this old truck, man. It's fun picking stuff up with it. Well, it looks like I found what actually caused the steering to break on this thing. It's a straight shot from the steering box to the column, as you could see, but they had a U-joint in there for some flexing, I guess. But see how it's got these screws in here to kind of tighten it down and secure it? They were gone. I put this one in here. They weren't even in there, and the end of this that connects to here was slid halfway down, and the end of this from here down is kind of, the threads are pretty well ruined in here, where it'd been kind of flopping around on there. It'd been kind of doing this for a while, and it slid down and then just spun around. So what I did was I drilled it here. I don't have enough room to just weld it on there, so I drilled that, and I drilled this one. I got that, and then I made a pin at a grade A bolt. I'll slide that in there, and then I'll just weld both sides of it, just tack both sides to keep it from coming out. There's still enough thread on the upper half of it here. You might be able to see it in the picture. There you go. For that upper half, that's all good thread. It's just this lower spot here. Then I just put a little indent there for the set screw to kind of grab onto, and I'll use Loctite on that. But I'll set this all up, and then we'll go back to the car and I'll show you on the car. But it looks like the bottom half of this one is okay, the mounts of the box. I'll set that screw with Loctite, and that should be good, and it should hold itself in there just fine. But it's a good Borgeson joint. It feels pretty solid. so it doesn't appear to be damaged in any way. Well, I got that excuse me, got the shaft in there. You can see how tight it is in here. It's ridiculous. No wonder there were no set pins in it. You can't hardly get anything in there, so I just cut one of my Allen wrenches down so I could fit it in there. Got it tight with some Loctite on the bolt to the steering box, and then this thing flips around and it's just this little bracket that slips back down and bolts to the floor, and that's it. There's no upper mount or anything on this thing, so there's a lot of stress on it. And it's a wooden floor, but it seems to hold okay. I just got to keep the shaft from wanting to slide up, and it has a bolt that tightens down on the shaft right here. So let me get that done. Well, it looks like the dang bracket don't even fit now. Unbelievable. It doesn't line up anymore. He must have really had to force that thing in there. Maybe that's why it came apart like it did. It was really binding in there pretty bad. So I'm gonna have to maybe elongate these holes or do something with them to get it to fit smoothly without really forcing it. It's pretty close, but not good enough. See, it just kind of sits and kind of floats up there. All right, well, I had to open up those holes a little bit on the plate because it would not line up with the steering shaft fixed solid. So something didn't fit right before. Got those drilled out. Oh, get this thing bolted in, and then that's the clamp there on the top right here. It should lock this shaft down, but it ain't going anywhere now. Everything's all pinned and fixed solid. Well, it's in there. See how it just kind of floats up here. You get a little tighter once it's finished being bolted down, but I got everything. I don't know if you can see it, but everything is 4 bolts pretty much hold it to the floor. Kind of wild, but the fiberglass is, or the dash is fiberglass, so there's really nowhere on this car to put an upper mount on unless it came from the floor somewhere. But that's not my job right now. Right now I just got to get it to steer like it used to. Tighten it up, and then just do some fine-tuning touches and whatnot to make sure that it's 100%. And then I got to change the oil pan gasket on it too. He wants me to do that, so I'll order that up tonight and get this thing back together. All right, it looked like I did have to get a body mount plug, and I went right down in here. I had to open this hole up a little bit so I could fish it in. I couldn't flex the body up enough to sling this thing in there. It's called a well nut. You see the shoulder's a little bigger than the rest of it. On the end of it, it's a threaded 3/8 end for a bolt, and as you tighten the bolt, it pinches it and it'll bulge out and lock it into the frame rail, because the frame rail has a hole drilled in the top of it that this sits in, and then the bolt through the floor bolts to that. So I got these from Speedway, and they are made for Tbucket, so I'm assuming maybe it's because they're fiberglass and it allows the body to resist too much vibration and flexing and stuff, so it doesn't crack. What kind of stinks about it, being that it's not really solid, it'll still flex, is part of the steering bracket here is attached to it, so it takes puts a lot of stress on that spot, and the old one came apart. And so anyway, that's all I can do right now is just replace it with a new one. Here's the old one. The bottom half is missing. It's probably inside the frame rail. When I pulled the bolt out, it just fell apart. So I was able to open that hole a little and kind of shove it down in there this way, and the hole's not too big for the spacers and the washers, so it should still clamp it just fine without taking the body off. All right, so I'm gonna slide this bracket back down. So I got the joint and everything locked in really good. I got the top side pinned with a Loctite on the locking nut. It's pinned and welded, and then the bottom half is pinned. The splines are in great shape, or the bottom one is actually used I forget what you call them at the moment, a little set screw, and it's got Loctite on it, so it shouldn't come out. But once this is all bolted down and then this is clamped really tight, this column shouldn't move. and that's the best I can do right now without taking this whole car and redesigning everything. So let me bolt this back down and then we'll get back to it. All right, it's completely done now. The oil pan and everything, I got all the oil cleaned off of it. Make sure it's not coming from somewhere else. Transmission, the diff, everything's wiped down, clean, and ready to go. See, the steering box is all done. Looks nice. Hopefully the wheel's straight. We'll see. I'm going to try and drive around the neighborhood for a minute. All right, let's crank this bad boy up. Well, one more down. Well, I guess that's it for today on this one. I'm gonna have to burn myself on that pipe. Yeah, this thing's pretty neat though. I love old Tbuckets, especially traditional ones with the tops and everything on them. Maybe yeah, multiple carbs, tunnel ram, blower. But man, it's a tough one to get your feet moved around in that thing. There's no room for your feet. But this thing's pretty awesome. So all right, well, thanks again you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.